One of the locations in the 2016 Olympic Games is an amphitheater. The number of seats in the first row of the amphitheater U1 is 240. So I know this, that my U1, let me just write it down, whatever information we have. So the first term is 240. The number of seats in each subsequent row forms an arithmetic sequence. So we also know that this is an arithmetic series. The number of seats in the sixth row, that means U6 is 270. Okay, so I know my first term, I know the sixth term, but I don't know the common difference or the first term. Actually, I do know the first term, which is this one, so I need to find the common difference. Now that we know the sixth term, we can easily use the equation for the nth term to get the common difference. We know already that un equals to u1 plus n minus 1 times d. But in this case, I have the sixth term, so this equals to u1, which is 240, plus n is the number of terms, that is 6, minus 1, and the common difference is what I need to find. But I also know that this equals to 270. So let me just solve this equation. I have 240 plus 5d equals to 270. I'm going to move this, subtract both sides by 240. So this and this gets cancelled out, and this equals to 30. So I have 5d equals to 30, and if you want to find the common difference, you just need to divide both sides by 5, and this will give you 30 divided by 5 is 6. So my common difference is 6. Now that I know my first term and my common difference, I need to find the total number of seats in the amphitheater. Now, the information that I have is there are 20 rows in the amphitheater. That means n equals to 20. Whenever you see this word total, it just means you need to find the sum. So I need to find the sum of the first 20 terms of this series. Let me do that. I'm going to use the formula for the sum, which is n over 2 times 2u1 plus n minus 1 multiply with the common difference. So this equals to n is 20, 20 divided by 2 times 2 times the first term. Where is my first term? Oh, 240. Plus n minus 1, where n is the number of terms, which is 20 in this case. 20 minus 1 times the common difference, and that is 6. Let me just do this then. 20 over 2 is 10. Then 2 times 240 will give you 480. We'll just write it down. Plus, remember, always do this first. 20 minus 1 is 19, and this 19 you have to multiply it with the 6. Now 19 times 6 will give you 114, so I will just write it. Then you need to add these two terms. 114 plus 480, that will give you 594. So 10 times 594, this will give you 5,940 seats. Okay, that's all for this question. Let me move to the second question. So this is about the number of apartments in a housing development, and it has been increasing by a constant amount every year. So constant amount every year, it means arithmetic series. Now at the end of the first year, the number of apartments was 150, and at the end of the sixth year, the number of apartments was 600. The number of apartments y can be determined by this equation, y equals to mt plus n, where t is the time in years. Okay, now we really need to understand this equation, what it means. This y is the number of apartments, the total number of apartments. This equals to m. Now it said in the question, we know from the question that this M is like the number of apartments is increasing by a certain amount every year. So definitely this is the difference. Okay, it's the amount by which the number of apartments is increasing. Multiply it with the time, which is the time in years, and then plus N. So according to the information, this definitely means the number of apartments that you have, like even before this, the first. Actually, not the first, it's the initial number. Okay, so you started with this, and then at the end of the first year, the apartment, it increased to 150. I can write 150, and I know that the end of the sixth year the number of apartments was 600, right? So I can use this information, the formula for the sixth term. Now u6 equals to u1 plus n minus 1 times t. u1 is 150 in this case, plus n is the number of years, which is 6 minus 1, and the common difference, I don't know what that is, but this refers to the M of the question. So you really need to understand what they're looking for. Let me solve this. u6, this equals to 600. So if you want to solve it, it's just 600 minus 150 equals to 5d. Then you can solve it by subtracting 600 from 150. That will give you 450, and you can divide it by 5 to get the common difference. This will give you 90. This is the value of M in this case. Like I told you before, like sorry, not different, the difference. So this one in the question, this means that the number that has been increasing like every year, it's the difference. Then we need to find the value of N. Now N, like I told you before, it's the initial amount, the amount that you had even before this. So you can easily use this 150 to get the N. Let me scroll it down a little bit. Okay, I'm going to use this. So when it was 150, the difference I know is 90. This times the number of years, because it's at the end of the first year, that means the time was 1, plus N. So if you solve this, you can easily get the initial number of apartments. So this is just going to be 150 minus 90 equals to N, which is just 60. So my N is 60 and the M is 90. Okay, that's all for this question. Let me move to the second one. The next one. So this is the third. Okay, the fifth term of an arithmetic sequence is equal to 6, and the sum of the first 12 terms is 45. We have to find the first term and the common difference. It's kind of straightforward. That it means you have two equations and you need to find two equations with it so that you can solve for the first term and the common difference. It's similar to the questions that we did before. But before we had maybe the fifth term or the 10th term, but this time we have one term and one sum, but the idea is the same. Okay, let me form an equation with this thing first. The fifth term of an arithmetic sequence equals to 6. By using this information, I can write u1. I don't know what that is, so I will just leave it like that. And then n minus 1, the n is 5. Minus 1, the common difference, I also don't know that, so I will leave it like that, equals to 6. This will give me u1 plus 4d equals to 6. From this equation, the sum of the first 12 terms is 45. This equals to n over 2. I know my n, it's 12 in this case, times 2 times u1, I don't know u1, plus n minus 1, the n is 12, so 12 minus 1 is 11, times the common difference. I don't know that, but I know that this equals to 45. Now let's simplify this equation. We can We can always simplify this first. It's just 6. Then inside you will have 2u1 plus 11d equals to 45. I want to move the 6 to that side, so I need to divide 45 by 6, which will give me 7.5. So that means this equation equals to 7.5. You have two options. You can either use simultaneous equation or like simultaneous equation, but you can use the elimination method like I showed you before, or you can use the substitution. For this question, I'm going to use the substitution method because it seems it will be easier to do that. You don't have to, because the numbers are not same. If the number were same, like if this was u1, I could have just subtracted from one equation from the other one. But because it's not the same number, I'm going to use substitution. This looks easy, so I'm just going to make this u1 the subject. I will move this to the other side. That will give me 6 minus 4d. Then I will move it back to this equation and solve for u1. Okay, let's do that. So 2u1 plus 11, I'm sorry, my bad. I know u1, I made that the subject, so I need to substitute this into u1, not this d. Okay, so let me do this here. So 2u1, I can write 6 minus 4d plus 11d equals to 7.5. Let me open this first. So 2 times 6 is 12, minus 4 times 2 is d plus 8d plus 11d equals to 7.5. I will move all the numbers to the other side. I will just keep this and move this 12 to that side. Then I will have 8 minus 11 minus 8 is 3. So I will write 3d equals to 7.5 minus 12. 7.5 minus 12 will give you negative 4.5. So if you want to find the common difference, you need to divide both sides by 3. If you divide 4.5 by 3, you will get negative 1.5. Now that you know the common difference, you can easily substitute it back to this equation to get your first term. I'm going to use this. u1 equals to 6 minus 4. Instead of d, I will write negative 1.5. Now, it doesn't mean you will subtract 1.5 from 4. When you have like a parenthesis, that means you need to multiply. So it means 6. Now negative and negative will become positive, and then you need to multiply 1.5 with 4, which will give you 6. So 6 plus 6 is 12. My first term is 12, and the common difference is negative 1.5 in this case. Let me move to the last question for this video. Okay. A new cafe opened, and during the first week their profit was $60. The cafe's profit increases by $10 every week. Calculate the cafe's total profit for the first 12 weeks. Now total means you just need to find the sum for this question. It's a pretty straightforward question. The sum. I know my u1 is the first week. That means it must be my first term. So I'm going to write the first term is 60, and the profit increases by $10 every week. That means my common difference is 10. So this equals to, not equal to, I can find the sum of the first 12 weeks by using this. It's going to be n over 2. N is 12. 2 times u1, which is 60, plus n minus 1, 11, times the common difference is 10. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 2 times 60 is 120 plus 110. Then you add 120 plus 110, and then you multiply it with 6, which is $1,380. So the answer for this question is $1,380, because that's the cafe's total profit for the first 2 weeks.